What's up? It's another wealthy day in the neighborhood. Thank you so much for choosing to be my wealthy neighbors, man. Welcome. Thank you. I'm excited. It's another episode of Wealth Talk TV. And this episode is actually going to be in honor of Juneteenth, talking about the liberation and the independence of our people and the way that I personally am implementing my own uh, look and image of liberation and independence. So typically what happens is on Wealth Talk we have candid conversations with guests about purpose, adversity, legacy, and wealth. But this time around I felt like it was the best time for us to kind of do a flashback recap on some of the guests that we've already had, as well as me tell you what my personal purpose is, my adversity, what are some of the things that I hope to build with my legacy, as well as what my definition of wealth is. All right, so we're gonna kick it off like that. So first we're gonna start out with me telling you what my name and purpose is. So my name is Len Wealth, and my purpose is to help rebuild marginalized communities, help rebuild fractured communities. And how I plan to fulfill that purpose is through education, as well as philanthropy, venture development, and small business consultation. Uh, I also execute this through my clothing brand, Will Fashion. Uh, my clothing brand is well, let me just state that when you get it, moving forward, you should see this card, this hang tag on all of your apparel, which states that 50% of all of our contributions or all of our proceeds are contributed to rebuilding marginalized communities. So really excited about receiving this because it gives me the responsibility of not just stating to create something that outlives me, or stating with the apparel that our responsibility is to create something that outlives us, but also to actually do it with the work that we have available before us. So that's one of the ways that we go about fulfilling our purpose is through rebuilding fractured communities by educating. This is a platform, an educational platform, Wealth Talk TV, where we desire to gain the insight, the wisdom, the wealth of wisdom, and the wealth of information from individuals who have succeeded, who have failed first, then succeeded, and the sacrifices that they made with their life, the personal achievements and the personal mistakes that they made with their life. They inform us through this platform of how to be able to apply those different nuggets or those different insights to our lives so that we too can be in a space where we're achieving and winning and succeeding and making a conscious decision on our wealth journey with the tools that are available to us from the wisdom of others. So that's another way that we go about doing it. As far as philanthropy is concerned, my aim at the end of this year, around the holidays season, is to be in a position where we can partner with other organizations, but also be in a position where we could personally give away at least $100,000 worth to single black mothers, specifically single mothers. I don't want to necessarily limit it just because if someone's in need of help, I do want to be in a position where we can help. But $100,000 worth of power bills, paying utility bills for these mothers, and basically being an advocate and a champion for the day-to-day life of a single mother. So that's one of the ways that I plan on executing in philanthropy. And when it comes down to venture development is more so just finding out the needs of our communities and being in a position where we can put other small businesses in place to be able to succeed and thrive in those communities, and not just be a brick and mortar that has the potential to fall off, even though a lot of things are now in a position where everything is online. We also want to create certain spaces where whatever those technical needs, technical education needs that can turn into businesses, creating that space where other small business owners, other desiring growing entrepreneurs are in a position where they can succeed and excel as well. So that gives you just a snippet or a bit of an understanding of my own personal purpose, what the plan is with these different avenues when I'm coming at you with Wealth Talk TV, when I'm coming at you with Wealth Talk, Wealth Outlives or Wealth Fashion, contingent on if you're on Instagram or not. You are in a space where you know that it's not just going towards one thing, it's going towards a tribe of things, and it's all contributing to feed our community, feed our own liberation, feed our own independence. So when we have conversations with people such as KB2 Funny or Crystal Lasley or Dan Klinkert or Brian Smith or Swiggle Mandela or Nick I Am Human, we actually get an opportunity to receive the wealth of information from these different individuals, be able to take advantage of them actually executing their purpose in action, whether it be like KB2 Funny to save a life, whether it be like Dan Klinker to help the mental illness, homeless, marginalized community by helping small businesses or redeveloping in those areas, or whether it be with Brian Smith, who is educating on credit repair, and just being in this space to assist others and educate, not only educating, but fulfilling their own individual purposes as a whole, because it requires all of these different entities, all these different spaces to be able to move a plan forward, and working with allies and having conversations with people who are not within your inner circle, or people who are outside of your inner circle, or sometimes having conversations with people that are within your web of network, because it's not always people that are outside of your circle. We just having the wrong conversations with the right people that we need to talk to. So we may need to have a conversation with our next door neighbor just to figure out, or tell me how you went about going about doing this thing, as opposed to talking about the latest gossip or the latest mess that's taking place. So this is my snippet of what is the expectation with my purpose and how I plan on executing it. Now that I've talked about, what my purpose is and how I plan on executing it, I can tell you also how I found my purpose. And that's a question I definitely ask my guests often. So the way that I found my purpose is honestly through a lot of pain and hurt and trial and error. When I initially was placed outside of my mother's home, asked to leave my mother's home, due to, I would say, my dishonesty, or both my dishonesty and my preference of sexuality. I got the burning desire to succeed and exceed expectations. I feel like I personally call myself the comeback kid, because it doesn't matter how far down I fall, how low it may seem, or it may appear as though I have been counted out. I'm always going to come back, and I'm always going to do more than what I did before, and do it better than I did before, because I learned well from mistakes. I learned well from error, and in doing that, I just started to train my brain by reading different books, gathering different information. And as I gathered the information and continuously failed forward with the different ventures, the different business ideas that I continue to create, because it's not always a one hit wonder or one night stand situation where you get it and then that's the thing that you're going to end up doing for the rest of your life. No, it takes time to get to this point. You have to learn how to be able to get better quality. You have to learn how to be in a space of being able to communicate with people, being able to have confidence behind your brand, being in a space where if don't nobody else like it, you like it for you first, and it resonates with you first, with whatever it is, your gift, your call, your brand, your business. You want it to resonate with you first. It has to be a reflection of you first. If you don't need it, then ain't nobody else really gonna need it. So once you start answering the calls within yourself, one of the things that it got to a point where it's like, okay, I need clothes that's going to reflect how I feel on a regular day basis. Not only is going to reflect how I feel, but it's going to manifest and speak into my life in different ways. That way, when I wear it, whatever I'm wearing, it's a representation of myself. I can't necessarily say, even though I have worn Nike, that I've always felt like just doing it. I can't necessarily say just because I have worn Adidas or worn Saucony's or these brands and I felt like whatever their hashtag is or whatever their line is. But when it comes down to my brand, well, fashion, and creating something that outlives you, I can identify with that, because this is my goal, this is my intent, this is my life work. I plan to create something that outlives me. So because I plan to create something that outlives me, and I know that my definition of wealth is to create something that outlives me, I can wear that. I can wear born wealthy, even though when it comes down to the technicality of having finances, I didn't have the finances to be able to say that I am wealthy, or I didn't even have the mental, the spiritual, the emotional capacity to say that I'm wealthy. But it wasn't until I listened to the explained video from the Wealth Gap that it stated that there was a period of time where black people were currency. Black people were wealth. So considering the fact that we've always been identified as a wealth source or a source of wealth, because we had different skills, we had different capabilities that other people were stronger in areas. We have speed in different areas. We have all these wealth within our genetics, within our DNA. So I can now state confidently and proudly that I was born wealthy because I have everything that I need within me. And then outside of that, there's a quote that says you have $1 million in your brain. You just have to figure out how to get it out. So with these two being the case, not only am I black, but I have the mental capacity to be able to create whatever it is within myself that I keep seeing. Then I can wear this proudly and boastfully and boldly and with confidence, because I know that I was born wealthy. I came out the womb wealthy. So this is just a snippet of how I am fulfilling my purpose in life of creating something that outlives us, as well as how I got to a point where the adversities that I experienced assisted me in being able to get to this place of how I find my purpose to create something that outlives me, or exist in wealth and live wealthy and wake up while I'm brushing my teeth wealthy, eating oodles and noodles and wealthy. So this is the portion where I state how I found my purpose, and that was through my trial and error, getting to a place where after experiencing that pain, deciding that I too was a fractured community within. I too was broken within a broken community. So knowing that I was a broken community, figuring out how do I rebuild myself on the emotional aspect? How do I rebuild myself on the financial aspect? How do I rebuild myself on the physical wealth aspect? How do I rebuild myself financially? these different areas, rebuilding yourself mentally, because all these, we're all individually broken in some type of way. No one here is perfect. We've all been broken, but it's trying to figure out, how do I heal? And listening to these different individuals that come on this show is a way to heal. Is figuring out, it's like, well, dang, if they went through that, well, maybe I can get through my situation too, or maybe I can go through the process of forgiving, or maybe I can go through the process of seeing from a different aspect that, you know what, maybe my parents didn't have it all figured out, and that's okay, because they are men and they are women, and they had to work with what they had, just like we have to work with what we have. We have the tools that we need within us. We are the tool that we need. We just have to figure out how to be able to use our tool to be able to apply it to our purpose. So that's that portion. The next question is, what are some of the adversities that I've experienced on the wealth journey, and how did I overcome them? So when it comes down to this wealth journey, I personally feel like I have foolishly at times gone gone all in ways that many would not expect anybody to go all in. So when it comes down to the financial aspect of it, like I've sacrificed, apartments, car. I've lived in storages twice. I've invested all my 401k at times, and had to re-up and start all over again. I had to travel with the fair to be able to just get on my feet to a certain point. And all of these situations, I really, even though they appear to be like, dang, you went through all of that just to get to this point, but I see it as training ground. I see it as like the gym. Like if I didn't travel with the fair, then I probably wouldn't have known how to be a better leader. Because at a time when I was getting these promotions and working with these different companies, when they promote me forward, I would come off like a dictator and a totalitarian. I wouldn't be in a space where I would just try to tell people what to do, as opposed to doing it with them. Any boss can tell you what to do, but a leader is going to show you how to do it. So when I did that, I learned how to be a leader. I learned how to be able to show others how to do, lead by example. Let my life lead the way. So that's one of the ways that I saw, as far as like traveling with the fair, as far as staying in the storage, funny. So the first time that I did it for 30 days in Daytona, and I epically failed. I quit my job, went to Daytona, called myself, if you know me, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with my previous field venture, Samson's lifestyle, but went and did that for 30 days thinking that, I'm going to just churn this out, use what I have financially, and try to create something out of that. But, with a storage, they're policing the space. You have to be in there by a certain time. You have to have continued income coming in. I wasn't working at the time. I thought I could just invest in everything and just go all in and succeed, and it didn't help. It didn't happen that way. So when that happened that way, and I basically had to be bailed out by friends and family, it really hurt. It really honestly discouraged me a bit, because I'm like, dang, I just gave it all up for this one thing. But what it taught me is when I transitioned to being out in Portland, and when I came out this way and did the same thing, as far as like staying in the storage for 30 days, this time I came with an effective plan. I came with knowing that I needed to get a job, knowing that I needed to be in a space where wherever I was, I could only be there for a short period of time, and I needed to get on my feet quickly. So it put me in a position where it gave me the confidence where I'm like, now you could drop me in any city. It doesn't matter what city it's going to be in or what space. Of course, I want to choose where I'm going, because I there are certain tools that you need to be able to maneuver and get around and things like that that I would like to have access to. But you could put me in any space, and I could figure out how to make it. I know that, with being without a car for a period of time, and having, when I was in Birmingham for a little bit, and I had to walk from North Birmingham to UAB. It took me probably about 2 hours to just get to one job that paid minimum wage. And if you're in the South, you know what minimum wage pays. But that taught me that I'm trained for distance. That taught me that it doesn't matter what is standing in my way between here and there and where I'm trying to be. It doesn't matter if I have to walk, if I have to crawl, if it's raining outside, if my shoes get wet, if it's cold at night. I'm okay with being uncomfortable temporarily so that I can achieve a lifetime goal. And this has been my lesson from adversity. So I guess my response to how I overcame my adversity is by not being scared to go all in, and not being scared that even if I go all in, losing it all. Because sometimes we take bets, we take gambles on certain different things in life, and it don't pay off in the full return that we expect for it to pay off to be. But in making that difference, or taking that step, you end up learning how to play. You either learn how to play better, or you learn how to use what you have to be able to leverage forward. So maybe you don't have to go all in on this. Maybe you can go all in on different areas, or it teaches you the players. Because life is also, just like life is a teacher, life is a player. Like life, hardship, pain, love, all these different things are contributing factors, are different players to our existence, to our purpose, to our fulfillment of life, legacy on this wealth journey. So with that being the case, I would definitely say the thing that I learned from adversity is that it's training ground. So that's my biggest takeaway from adversity. How I overcome it, recognizing that it's training ground. It might hurt, it might feel uncomfortable, you might not be around the people that you want to be around at that time, but the people, you need those people to teach you something. So allow the current circumstances, the current adversity, the unemployment, whatever situation, the sickness, the illness, to train you for where you're about to go to. The next thing is legacy. Now, when it comes down to legacy, I have a list of things that I'm hoping to accomplish when it comes down to my legacy work. My legacy work will look like, for me, being in a space where hundreds of thousands of entrepreneurs can be able to create something that outlives them, and have a space to go to be able to create something that outlives them. It'll also be hundred thousands of youth being in a space where they can, especially when it comes down to youth homelessness, or youth independence. Because one thing that I felt like when it comes down to the educational system in the African American community, I feel like I was ill prepared. I feel like there was definitely some things that I should have known that I didn't know. And it's all right, because it helped me. What I didn't know, I end up finding out. And if you have a desire to know something, then all you have to do is just go research it. Go to the mentors, go to the leaders, or to these books, and gather the information that you need, and just apply it. Worst come to worst, that might not be the particular thing that works for you, but there's still something out there that can help you get to where you need to be. So being in a space where I have a particular training ground, or a system available, schooling system, or a housing system rather, where homeless youth can come and spend their time for maybe a year or two of their high school into freshman year, just kind of getting used to the transitions that are about to take place in their lives, getting used to being able to pay bills, getting used to being able to work and live. And sometimes there are scholarships available, sometimes you have student athletes, sometimes you have entrepreneurs. But being in a space to create a collective uh, system, or a collective education system that makes the transition a bit easier, I think it'll be great. I definitely feel like everybody has their own soul salvation, their own demons to work out with what happened in their past, whether it been rape or homelessness or rejection or abandonment or whatever your issues are. There definitely should be some type of counseling system in place to be able to, if nothing else, sort out how you feel, accept how you feel, and forgive and heal from what you experience. And it's not something as easy as 1-2 step or 1 to 2 years, but being in a space where this group can be able to be build upon each other, have the support system of each other, and create a brotherhood, alliance, a sisterhood through this educational course, so that when uh, life happens, you won't feel like you're in the situation by yourself. And knowing how to be able to balance certain relationships. There's we encounter 1,000 things, and a lot of things are trial and error. A lot of things you don't know until you experience it. But at the same time, someone knows, and someone has experienced what you experienced. So why not be in a position where be like, hey, here's the answers, if you're looking for the answers. Now, if you're not looking for answers, then by all means enjoy the the education of life and sacrifice, because that's the other side of it. I've gone through the education system of life and sacrifice. I experienced things that I probably could have avoided, and some things that I probably could not avoid it, just by who all I talked to, whoever my circle was, and whatever type of information that they had to give me. But some things your circle of influence does not know. So because some of the things that your circle of influence does not know, uh, my job, my personal goal as far as my legacy is work, is to make that available through Wealth Talk TV, is to build other businesses through Radical Ventures Group, the venture development firm, as well as to uh, be in a space where we're creating lasting wealth, lasting financial wealth that millions of families can take advantage of. Uh, I don't just with Juneteenth being today, I don't just look at the fact that black people need reparations. Because reparations are cool, but reparations don't work if you don't know how to spend money properly. Reparations is not going to work if you just gonna buy a Cadillac. Reparations is not going to work if you're not going to invest in a business. Reparations are not going to work if you just have a uh, Dollar Tree mental state. And it's nothing wrong with Dollar Tree, but it's one thing to be in a space of becoming a millionaire when all you have experience with is being on $8 to $15 an hour, and you use everything that you have to buy shoes, buy clothes, or and not only that, but you're investing in businesses that don't invest back into your community. That's why I'm really kind of like speaking up for, and not just Black Lives Matter, but Black Wealth Matter, Black Dollars Matter, Black Businesses Matter, Black Existence Matter, because you to compare and contrast and be like, oh, just because Gucci has been around for years, or Coach has been around for years, but Coach has never tried to coach you through anything. Gucci has never made sure that you or your family are Gucci. They just, like they're just riding this wave of trends to keep the black dollar within their reach, and it's disrespectful to our intelligence. It's disrespectful to who we are as a nation of people who we are as a consciousness. We have more to offer ourselves, you know, than to just keep feeding other people's communities. And the way that we can set one of the ways that we can save ourselves first is through, uh, for me, the end goal is to do a solar farm, because that's going to be something that not is not just going to take care of generations of us for 25 years, but even when I'm asleep or anybody else in my family is asleep, their children's children and your children's children will be able to benefit from the wisdom, from the finances, from the resources that have been created so that we can all live the way that we are supposed to live. And I'm not saying that, you know, everybody should be in gold or diamond or living lavish or anything like that, but to just be in a space where we're making decisions for ourselves, and we're making decisions for our purpose, and we're making decisions for legacy, and we're making decisions for inheritance. We're not going into a state or going to a specific place without having inheritance talked about at the dinner table. Inheritance should be a regular conversation because it needs to be embedded in the minds of the children. It needs to be embedded in the minds of the children's children. So with that being the case, my idea of legacy is a black wealth mecca, a black wealth mecca, to be in a space where all black businesses are thriving, or all black entrepreneurs are leveraging forward, or everybody is in a way pushing towards their own independence, having their lineage to be independent. And finally, what's my definition of wealth? I can say it once, I could say it 1,000, a million, a billion times, but it really won't change for me. Wealth is to create something that outlives you. If you're not using your time, your energy, your space, your matter, your life, your voice, your hands, the work of your existence to create something that outlives you, you're being selfish. And it don't matter if you have to give. It doesn't matter if you have to sacrifice. If it doesn't matter if you have to cry your way through, bleed your way through, die your way through. Whatever it takes to make sure that Chase Zion is good, as my nephew, to make sure that his family, his lineage is good, to make sure that all the Orrs are good, to make sure all the Harrises are good, make sure all the Baileys are good, to make sure that their descendants are good and the extensions of themselves are good. That even when it comes down to the people that I've had on the guests, make sure that KB Too Funny and her family is good, to make sure Dan Clinker and his family is good, to make sure that Swiggle Mandela and his family is good, to make sure that Brian Smith and his family is good, to make sure that Nick I Am Human and their family and her family is good, then I have done my job. I have done my job as a member of humanity, as a member of the African American community, that I have created a space where we can all be able to sit at the table, not only eat from the table that we have created and the food that we place on the table, because often we want to sit at other people's table or bring other people's table, but not only we are the table, but we are the chefs. Not only we the chefs, but we can eat from our own table, and we can have more than enough room to make sure that everybody in the house, because there's it's we could do a long table. We could do a long table, you know, outside of the house, or we can make sure that but everybody can come through and make sure they have a plate. Everybody go to. I don't know if you guys remember going to families' houses, you know, during the holidays, and not everybody's sitting at the table, but everybody's in the house, and making sure that everybody in the house can eat from this table. It don't matter if the kids playing in the yard, in the basement, or they at the car's table having some drinks, or whatever they're doing, or families or aunties having conversations with each other, grandmothers or grandfathers, wherever they may be at, making sure that each individual that's connected to me, connected to my lineage, and connected to my lineage, lineage are taken care of. So, and that starts with creating something that outlives you. That starts with giving back to marginalized communities. That starts with rebuilding fractured communities, because we have all the value. Don't look at your West Ends or your Martin Luther King Boulevards or your North Sides or your South Sides and think that, oh, because this community is looking run down, it's looking raggedy, that ain't no value here anymore. No, that's a lie. That's a complete and utter lie. What's going to happen is they're going to come through. These other ethnicities, these other people are going to come through, see that there is cheap land available, cheap, good land available, buy it up, and you're going to be crying about gentrification. I'm not crying about gentrification anymore. I think that gentrification is only beneficial for the people who benefit from it. And I am in a space where now I believe that we should be able to benefit from our own gentrification. We have good stuff. We have great food. We have great hospitality. We all want to look out for each other. And even we're such a forgiving people. We're such a loving people that even when somebody's wronged us, all they have to do is take a knee. All they have to do is come through and act like they apologize, and we're going to easily embrace them. Not a bad thing, because forgiveness needs to happen. However, I'm not in the space where I'm like, okay, just because I forgive you, I'm going to let you take advantage of me. No, I forgive you. You can come and eat at my table on top of that. And while you eating at my table, go ahead and spend your dollars. Go ahead and spend your dollars and give back to the community that's been given back to you. So in honor of this Juneteenth video, this recap of some of my experience, as well, me answering the questions rather, of what my purpose is, what adversities I've experienced, what my legacy work looks like, as well as my definition of wealth. Make sure you guys are investing in Black artists. Black art is I love color. I love art, and I plan on having more artists available, not just with like paintings, but music, sculptures, whatever their mediums may be. I definitely want to see more of that on this episode. So if you have anybody that you feel can benefit from, or you can benefit from me talking to, or expanding expanding or sharing their insight with us, please don't hesitate to reach out at lenwealth@outlook.com. When it comes down to the financial sector, and how to be able to tangibly build wealth into our hands, I'm going to have more conversations with people who do tax lien certificates, and how do you purchase tax deeds, and being able to find out more information about real estate, and being able to find out more information about accounting, and how do we get our finances in a position where whatever we have, because it's not always about the dollar amount that you're making. It's about how you use what you have. And if you can figure out a way to be a good steward over the little that you have, eventually more is going to come. But if you don't have a space or a container that this little can go into, and you're not using it right, then there's no wonder why things are not flowing the way that they should. And I understand you have to live. I know that the job is only paying so much. But sometimes, even though it's uncomfortable, you have to live below your means. You just have to, because if you do, then it'll eventually start to, you'll start to figure out, like, dang, I could do a little bit with more, and now I can properly invest in myself and use the funds to actually bet on me. Even if I don't always pay out, I'm gonna end up paying out after a while, because I've invested within my mind, I've invested within my spirit, I've invested within my body, and the conglomerate of information that I've used throughout all this time frame is chiseling me in such a way where it's like, okay, now I know how to reference certain things. Now I know how to look at certain things to be able to make it work for me in a better way. So that's another thing. And then outside of that, just support Black businesses, support Black food, support black clothes, black art, just whatever it is, just support them. Even if it's a service, and even if you not in a position financially to do it at the time, just even when it comes down to this whole life insurance policy, get life insurance. Like Chris Lasley said, get life insurance. It's cheap as fuck. It's about the same cost of Netflix, Hulu, and maybe your HBO subscription combined. Like, it's not that much for real. And if you could spend, or sometimes lower, you don't have to spend an arm and a leg just to be able to make sure that you're not being selfish with your life, and it may seem like, oh, I'm gonna live together forever, or I shall live and not die to declare the works of the Lord. All that sounds good, but unless you're expecting God to catch us all up at one time, you sound real ignorant. I'm not gonna lie to you. It don't sound good. It's not fair to anybody that you connected to. So get life insurance, like Crystal Lasley said. Another thing that I've had to learn throughout this process is not being bitter. Like Swiggle Mandela said, everybody's not going to take you seriously when you start to do whatever it is that your purpose or your gift is to do. Sometimes you have to prove yourself that not proving to everybody else, prove to yourself that there's more in you that's pulled out. Everybody's not going to get you on the first shirt that you sell, the first whatever your thing is that you put out there. They're not going to always mess with you up front, but as you continue to connect with people, as you continue to build relationships with people, as long as you continue to increase the quality, because that's been the most valuable thing, is making sure that your quality is good. When you make sure that what you produce, your quality is good, people they're not gonna be able to deny you. They're gonna be like, wow, this feels different. This feels good. And then I didn't have to do that much for it, because you've established a track record. You've established some type of trust with being a brand that produces quality work, quality goods. And that's one of the things that has happened with me. I've had to not be bitter about people who say they're going to show up and not going to show up, or people who say they're going to do something and not going to do it. Just let it roll off your back like shower water, because everybody don't have to have the same type of feeling when it comes down to your vision. You should love your vision enough that if nobody supports it, you should support it, because it's yours. It's a reflection of you. If you feel that way, if this is what you say that your purpose is, if this is what you say that your call is, then it shouldn't matter if anybody shows up. That's why when it comes down to these preachers preaching to a pew or to nobody in their church, especially when it comes down to the mega ministry, I feel like they should be comfortable with that. Because if you did the training, beforehand, and you had no members before, then what is no members again? Like, at this time you got a different level of influence, so maybe you can go online. But if you start on a minimum level and despise not the small beginning, and just continue to increase and continue to grow, continue to invest in it, eventually you'll go from 10, 15 people, or maybe even 5. From 5 people saying that they like your stuff, to 10 people liking your stuff, and you have an opportunity to plant a seed in these different individuals' lives, and they be able to see, well, dang, this is actually a quality good. This is actually a quality service. It actually benefited me in some way. So doing that. Another thing is to, as KB Too Funny said, just do it. Just whatever it is that's within you to do, execute it. Don't worry about how it looks up front. You want to increase your quality yearly. You want to make sure that you're improving yearly, and continue to receive feedback. Continue to try to figure out different ways that you can improve. You know what you like. You know what other people like, and you know what can or may or may not be the best move to make. But just continue to make the adjustments. As long as you're making adjustments, then everything is going to pan out the way that it needs to. Another thing that I really thought was valuable, man, that Brian Smith was amazing. When, like, if y'all get an opportunity to catch, if you need credit repair or anything like that, make sure you go back and recap on that, and then connect with him, build a relationship with him, because the fact that you can, a lot of times when it comes down to these bill collectors, a lot of people don't want to pick up the phone. They don't want to answer because they feel like this is a debt that I accumulated. But if you look on your credit report and see that all these accounts are in collections, then there is no real need for you to pay that back unless you are planning on continuing an account with that particular individual. So if you're planning on, if you're not planning on continuing an account with that particular individual, you paying them off would be more so a pay to remove that collection off your account, or you just gonna pay them off and it's not gonna affect your credit either way. Whereas having a collection account removed from your account, you end up saving money, being able to put the funds that you were going to pay into actually building credit and establishing a revolving line of credit. So go back and check that one out. The one with Swiggle Mandela, as far as just his whole encounter of how to be able to handle relationships and how to handle people. And when it comes down to working with others, a lot of times we want to work with people who are, I don't want to say out of our reach, because this is all a community, regardless of what side of the town that you live on. We're all a community, but some people respond, some people don't. So just knowing the fact that to work with people that want to work with you, and being able to build relationships with those individuals, and just taking it individual by individual and just growing gradually is good information. With Nick I Am Human, as far as faith is concerned, you guys should go back and check that one. But being in a space where you can be completely honest, completely candid, completely vulnerable, and stating where exactly that you are. A lot of times we want to appear as though we're better than we actually are, when it's like that doesn't serve you, that doesn't benefit you. Because if someone is in a position to help you, they don't know what to do because you haven't said anything. And then it's also knowing who to be able to have the conversation with. You're not just going to go out here frivolously just be talking to anybody and everybody about your vision or your dream. But when there is a divine connection or a divine relationship, or you hear a trigger word that's within you that says, maybe I need to connect here, or maybe I need to do this, then you take advantage of that opportunity to withdraw from that wealth of wisdom, to withdraw from whatever resources that can mutually benefit you, because even swap is no swindle. So just like they have something to bring to you, you have something to bring to them. And just knowing, have confidence in whatever your value is, even if it has not grown the way that you expect for it to be, because everything takes time. You don't get to receive the harvest on the same day that you plant the seed. If you eat the harvest on the day that you plant your seed, you're just going to be eating a seed. You're not going to be eating anything. So knowing that, when it comes down to building relationships, have confidence on whatever your gift is, and being able to use your gift to benefit someone else, and know what your gifts are. Do the research and trying to figure out, I want to say I read a book by the startup of me, or the startup of you is what it's called. And it just helped me pinpoint the what my different skills were, as well as what I was actually passionate about, and being able to find a way to kind of marry those two together to be able to produce whatever it is within me that I can produce. So that's why I'm good with wealth of information, because I like to read. I like to be able to read, and then I like to be able to apply the information that I've read to myself and figure out how it's going to work. Another thing with Dan Clinker and him talking about rebuilding fractured communities, and how that he's going about doing that. I would say that the biggest thing is just getting connected to more individuals like that, because it takes all of us. It's like not one business can just rebuild a community. It's going to take many businesses. Yes, you put Amazon in a city, you put Google in a city, then it's going to cause a lot of jobs to flock to that specific area. And it's going to cause different people to buy up the real estate around that specific a specific job area, or that specific place. But it doesn't. When you got real estate, you still need grocery stores to be able to accommodate these people that's working at Google. You still need restaurants for people to go to eat. You still need gas stations in these different areas. So connect to the people who are interested in actually rebuilding communities, because if you connect to the people that are actually interested in rebuilding communities, who knows, you can have whatever your gift is, whatever your purpose is, actually created in a physical form, where you have regular guests, regular customers coming in and out. You need barbershops, you need hair salons, you need nail shops, you need these different things to keep the economy going. You need these different things to keep the economy flowing. And that can also be for car dealerships and just whatever it is that you have the capacity to do. Clothing stores, people need things. People need the creature comforts that they are used to be able to exist in that space. It would be one thing if we was all just eating off the land and living naked, but we're not doing that. We eating off the land, but we receive what we need from people. So definitely when it comes down to that, make sure that you guys are connecting to individuals as far as business owners or entrepreneurs that are trying to redevelop communities. When it comes to, I'm trying to figure out who else did I have on there. And see, there was KB Too Funny. It was Swiggle Mandela. It was Crystal Lasley. It was Dan Clinker. It was Nick I Am Human and Brian Smith. So all these people have just giving me a wealth of information, and giving you it's available to you on YouTube, Wealth Talk TV. But just giving a wealth of information and just learning how to be able to pick the different pieces of what you need and applying that to your life it's been one, or for me, has been one of the methods that work for me. Just picking, because everybody doesn't have everything. Sometimes you have to go to the sugarcane farm to grab the sugar. Sometimes you got to go to the wheat farm to grab the wheat. Sometimes you have to go to the vineyard, the oil vineyard, the olive vineyard to be able to grab oil. It just, everybody has something, and being able to use those different things and bring it together to make those ingredients work for ourselves as individuals and as a unit, as a nation, is what's going to push our wealth forward. So that's been my recap. That's been my explanation of what purpose, adversity, legacy, and wealth looks like. And happy Juneteenth, you guys. Again, buy black, buy as much black as possible. And not just buy black, but buy with individuals that are going to do the work to make sure that your community is being built back up. If you guys are looting and rioting in your community, after you get done looting and rioting in your community, make sure you're going back and giving dollars to those community, to your community that you looted and rioted in, because they need to be able to build back up. Like, don't just, and outside of that, I honestly think that it's wrong to do it in your own community. Go trash their stuff. Go trash the police stations. Go trash and nothing against, them or anything like that. But if you feel the need to kill a unarmed black man or unarmed black woman, it should be seen as a hate crime. You are a terrorist against a particular group. This is a black genocide that's occurring. So that's just my stance on it. Black wealth matters. Black dollars matter. Black existence matters. Black businesses matter. Black lives matter. All right. Hope you guys have a great one. Wealthy.